Hey, True Believers. Chris Mack coming at you with Inferno number 4. And I gotta say, I'm so disappointed. Um, when this event was first announced, we kind of went over the trailer over on our After Dark channel, so I'll make sure to leave a card so you guys can go check that out after you've watched this review. I was really hoping, like my own personal hope was that Krakoa was going to burn to the ground because I'm so tired of Krakoa and the way the X-Men are acting that I could scream. But realistically, we know that that's not going to happen. From what I understand, Hickman had an idea when he came on. You know, he wanted to do House of X Powers of 10, and I believe he said something along the lines of that he had a 3-act play, essentially, and what was supposed to happen. And he said there was no real timeline. That's why, he kind of let other writers sort of take their own take on all of the other X books, which a lot of them been hit and miss. The most strongest books, in my opinion, over the last however many years this has been going on was Wolverine, X-Force, Hellions, and to a lesser degree, I really did enjoy Fallen Angels, even though it didn't last. So this is Jonathan Hickman writing, Valerio Schiti and Stefano Caselli doing the art, David Carell doing the colors, VC's Joe Sabino doing the lettering. Here's everyone else working on the book, and of course, X-Men was created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. I don't know. Okay, for example, I remember when they were announcing the Sabretooth standalone story. My hopes for Inferno, especially, let me kind of go back to the trailer, is, they kind of bring this whole dialogue, like the trailer opens up with Destiny kind of giving this whole dialogue, and then she says we need to burn everything to the ground. And then, like, you hear these jarring alarm sounds, and you kind of see Moira standing over everybody dead. And so I was hoping that there was going to be this big battle. They were teasing the Sabretooth book while promoting Inferno, so I was hoping that she was going to release Mystique was going to release Sabretooth to aid her in either slaughtering or just destroying this horrible island that has made the X-Men such villains. That's not what happened. So let's go ahead and go through the book and kind of show what did transpire. So last issue, as we remember, Moira gets taken by Orcus. Xavier and Magneto go to save her, and they find themselves surrounded by Orcus goons. And you're thinking, this is going to be some interesting action. And believe it or not, we actually get some good action, but here's the deal. And spoilers, if you've not read this, make sure to read it first, then come back to this review. Instead of it being, Magneto and Xavier versus Orcus, we finally see that Omega Prime and Nimrod decide it's time to implement their plan. And they tear through these Orcus paramilitary with ease. And you just see her standing over the remains of what she's just done, and she says, "This is how little you matter." So now that the humans are out of the way, it's mutant versus machine. Exactly what Hickman was setting up in Powers of 10 when we saw the future of Nimrod and her running this dystopian future where the machines were the dominant sentient species. And just look at the gorgeous artwork here. I will not damn that. There's 2 artists, which I kind of wish when they decide to do something that they should stick to one, but nonetheless, just seeing how Eric and Charles just go full tilt with their powers to destroy these machines because they've been trying to get at them, though they've not been able to infiltrate Orcus. They tried sending Raven in. She failed. In the first House of X, they tried to send the next team. Failed. So you're just kind of thinking, what good are these two, even though they're supposed to be Omega level mutants? Now, moving past the fight, what I really want to dive into here is where I start to feel like the Inferno event was a cop-out. Destiny and Mystique have Moira. They chopped off her arm that had the tracking device and left it at that Orcus facility, which is where Eric and Charles go, so that they could have a moment with her. And Moira's saying, you can't kill me. And Destiny's saying, why? Because the universe will restart. All that hard work of mutant history erased in an instance. Every realized hope, every realized dream, gone. As if it were nothing. Then you cannot kill me. Now, as I said, if you haven't read this book, go buy it, come back, because spoilers will abound here. Mystique says, actually, Moira, I disagree. Now, I kind of feel, because I believe Hickman said that, Krakoa was only supposed to be a finite thing. He wanted to do a 3-act structure. So here, for me, them killing Moira and restarting the 616, or whatever Hickman wanted to do with the series, because Moira would come back, because she still, from what I understand, has an 11th life, and I don't think we've been introduced to what her 11th life is yet. I think we've seen all 10, but there's supposed to be like an 11th one. If I'm wrong and I'm misremembering, let me know down in the comments, but that's what I'm seeing up here in my head. So, we see Mystique pull the gun, and we see this flash. And at first you're thinking, well, this is kind of lame, but it makes sense because, saying, and then, I kind of feel like, to a degree, that this should have been the end of the book, and Moira should have been killed. Because the book is called The Death of Moira X, which is interesting how they decide to wait till almost the end of this book to give us this splash page. So we're going to skip past the stuff with Emma. This kind of explains how Destiny and Raven put their plan into action of how they were going to abduct Moira, how they were going to distract Magneto and Professor X, and all the machinations that they wanted to do. But instead, this is where I feel like the cop-out happened. If you guys remember, I think, wasn't it around issue... It was around the 180s, I believe, or maybe the latter half of the 170s of Chris Claremont's run of Uncanny X-Men, when it was just around the time Rogue joined the X-Men. The government was hunting for her, and they took Forge's basically, it eliminated the X gene, is what it was. And they wanted to do that to Rogue because she was a threat, because she was initially part of the Brotherhood. And, her and Storm had become really close, so Storm was trying to kind of groom her and show her how to be an individual instead of a foot soldier for Mystique. And when Forge and the government go to shoot Rogue, Storm jumps in front of it. And that's how, for the very later half of Claremont's run, Storm, without any mutant powers, was able to run the X-Men and be a strong individual. That's why we all love her for that. So here the cop-out is Mystique jacks that gun. I know, long story, but I wanted to say that to say this. So basically Mystique is depowered Moira, so she doesn't get a chance for an 11th life. So all this buildup and hype that made everybody excited for House of X and Powers of 10 has kind of gone down the drain here. Now, I don't know everything that was going on in the X office, but from what I understand, no one was ready to, because from what I understand, when Hickman did those 2 books, and he said 3-story arc, he was saying it's kind of open-ended, so that's why he gave a lot of the writers kind of their free reign of what they wanted to do in their books. And then he said when the time comes for the next arc, we're going to have to find a way for everybody to figure out how to turn their stories towards that event. But I guess he got overruled, and this is where I feel like, oh man, this should have been the next part. But instead, we get a lot of sitting and talking. There's some interesting dramatic moments, but it just... If you remember back, what was it? Was it Powers of 10? I can't remember which one where Moira was burned alive. And, there was some dialogue, but it was like boom, boom, and then they lit her on fire. And it was an agonizing scene. And then again, this is just me. because I've been reading X-Men New Mutants for so long, that I loved Moira. I love every time that the X-Men would go to Muir Island, and you just see how everybody reconnected, and you felt like they were humans. Again, I've said this in several reviews, and if you don't believe me, go back. I believe it's on YouTube and Amazon Prime, and on YouTube it's free with ads, obviously, but you can watch it. It's called Chris Claremont's X-Men, and he talks about how when you read the books, what it is that you're caring about is the people's lives. And, I cared about Moira. That's why later down the road, when they killed her and made her a victim of the legacy virus, I was pissed. Because I loved the way that, her and Banshee were a couple. The way that she had adopted Rain, Wolfsbane, as her stepdaughter. If you go back and read the beginning of when Legion was introduced, the way the mother-daughter interaction was very poignant, and it hits you in the feels. Now she's sitting here saying that she hates mutants and she wants to eliminate the X gene. And she's saying here, oh, the gun only works when the X gene is activated. What I want to do is going to eliminate it within the womb, or before, it even can develop. And I'm like, who are you? Who is this evil person that has no empathy or sympathy? Yes, they say that she's lived centuries of lives, and that's what she's trying to get Destiny and Mystique to understand. But still, this isn't the Moira that us longtime readers and fans know. And it just breaks my heart. And I would love to have seen what Hickman wanted to do, but we are not going to get that now. And then what really makes the book shine, because again, as I said, the dialogue between Destiny, Raven, and Moira gets to be a little stale, and you can see what Hickman wanted to do. But at least the action and the artwork here really starts to offsets all those moments, because you really start to see what these two are when they're really pushed to the limit. Now, I don't want to give any more of the book away in these regards. I'm trying to get to what I want to talk about here. Hang on, guys. Because now that Moira is depowered, she is no longer a mutant. So, to kind of summarize what happens is there's a moment with basically kind of like an impasse with Doug Ramsey, Krakoa, his Doug's wife, Moira, and then, of course, Destiny and Raven. And I really do like how they've sort of grown Doug in this story, because so far you've just kind of seen him lounge around. So seeing him in this book and the way that they utilize him, that was a nice change, because I remember when Cypher was first introduced, he was always very down on himself about how his powers were only to, decipher language. And he's like, what good am I? And the team would always build him up, especially Danny and Rain, because they were very close friends, and of course Warlock. So that was an interesting take. But here, towards the end, we kind of get a callback again to House of X, the number one of House of X, and of course the first issue of Inferno with Emma. And now remember, these two, Eric and Xavier, were hiding Moira away. Well, now that they tried to bring Emma in, a lot of things are out. And I don't like that through Inferno, there were some things that they pointed out. Like, they was talking about how Mystique was a rogue and they were going to bring Colossus in. They didn't do anything. Like, I'm sure this is probably going to be expounded upon in future issues. But why say something in an event book if you're not going to do anything with it? It makes no sense. And I was really hoping, like I just said, that I was hoping Krakoa was going to burn to the ground. But instead, what we get to be continued forever. So does this mean now that Hickman's out of the X office? That forever and ever and ever and ever, or at least I can see maybe the next decade, are we just going to be floundering here on Inferno. Or not Inferno. What's that stupid island called? Krakoa. I hope not. There's only a handful of books that are really worth a damn, and I will say that the ones that are worth your time and actually have some like meat and bones to them would be Hellions, Wolverine, X-Force, and I'm hoping that the new book that they're releasing, Sabretooth, is going to be interesting because we finally get to see, from what I understand from the writers, that we get to see what's been going on with Creed since he was dropped into the depths of Krakoa in suspended animation. Again, I was hoping that was going to be Mystique essentially reviving the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants and burning Krakoa. That's why I was hoping that they were going to release Sabretooth before this event to see how it was going to tie in, but now after this event's over, now we have Destiny, what is it called? Destiny of X, Reign of X or something like that, and the X Lives of Wolverine, and it's like, oh good, more events. So Inferno had some great ideas, but they were scrapped so that we can stay on Krakoa forever and ever and ever. And I don't think that I'll be continuing with the X titles. I will probably review Sabretooth because I am interested to see what happened to Creed, but other than that, I really don't give a damn. But if you guys have enjoyed what you've seen and want to read more of it, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and pick up a copy. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love talking with you and hearing your thoughts and feedback down in the comments below or our social media pages, which I'll make sure to leave the links down in the description. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you have continued to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.